All right, so yes, you can paint. I mean, paint, we say, is, of course, the easiest, the least expensive way to upgrade where you live. But you know what? Why not think out of the box? There's other things you can do with paint, and Eric, as a longtime contractor, you're going to walk us through some of this stuff. That's Eric Stromer, by the way. And I'm Cindy Dole, and you're listening to Home Wizards. So walk us through some of the cool different techniques that are out of the box, that are not just the basic paint.
Well, I mean, painting, again, is like a 2.5-hour job for the weekend. I always talk about an accent wall as being something you can handle on your own easily, very simply, to change and transform the look of the interior of your house. And that really, I mean, color has such a psychology to it. If it's the right color, it's fantastic. If it's the wrong color, it makes you feel like you want to run for the hills, right? So if you're looking to do something this weekend for just maybe a couple hours on one day, start with that accent wall. You know, either use the anchor wall in your bedroom, which would be the headboard wall. Change the color, the feel, the look. It's going to be simple to do. To create an accent wall, it's really basically just finding the color that's going to kind of give you that feel that you're looking for.
But how about making those sharp edges, though, because we don't want it to bleed off the
corners.
Yes,
I know.
You never have that, but I know I've done it, and people stare at it all the time. So what's the trick?
You mean the secret to cutting a fine wall?
Cutting it.
Yeah. So basically the secret to cutting paint is using the brush like a pencil. You want to hold it in your hand. So try and look at yourself writing with a pen or a pencil, and then transfer that same feeling to a paintbrush. Oftentimes people just hold the handle.
Like an ice cream cone.
Like an ice cream cone. What you want to do is kind of get the whole meat of the brush right where that metal area is, where the bristles come from. Mm-hmm. Your finger's got to wrap around
and
that.
And your index finger's
on the top, and that's leading, and that gives you total control of the paintbrush.
And would you put tape over it?
You can. I mean, the blue tape really works well. And I think, yes, if you've never done it before, you want to start with the blue tape. And the reason you use the blue tape is that it won't pull off the existing paint that's already there. It's less adhesive, so
and helps you draw within the lines.
It sure does. Yeah, it gives you a nice and also the blue tape is what I use for striping or creating any kind of mosaic feel or any motif that has multiple colors on a wall. You use, your blue tape to kind of delineate where you're going to paint and where you're not. So that's going to give you a nice, clean, smooth line. And then in terms of painting, when you're going on, when you're trying to mark off a floor to keep paint from getting on that, you can use the blue tape on the carpet and go ahead and put it right at the edge, and then you push down, like sort of pulling the carpet away from the baseboard to get the tape down in that area so that you're ensured that no paint will drip on the carpet. And then from there, you put your tarp so that there's a nice, really clean way to mark off carpeting with tape first and then tarp on top of that.
And speaking of floor, you can also, some other tricks are you've painted wood floors. I love the idea of maybe creating almost like a pattern by painting the floor itself.
Yeah, and when it comes to patterns, you have to be very careful and conscious of symmetry. If you're trying to do perfect squares, you have to make sure that you grid out a pattern. So a lot of times I'll use
like a sewing pattern.
Exactly. I'll use chalk lines a lot of the time where, you find a perfect square in the center of the room, right, using a T-square. That gives you your perfect right angle, and then you can just mark off one line going one direction and then create the plus sign the other direction so that that's your center point. And then from there, measure your lines out. So if you're doing 12 by 12 squares, you want to go from the center out 12 inches to create that perfect checkerboard. And then you can use the chalk line to reference, make sure you're okay. And then from there, you can tape off the floor and kind of get an idea of how to get your squares nice and even. Something else that's great. By the way, when you're using floor paint on hardwood,
is it a different kind?
Yeah, you want to use something that's got a nice high gloss to it because that's going to adhere a little better. But keep in mind that it will scuff down the road, but that look can sometimes be cool because it kind of gets beat up a little bit.
Distress.
But that perfect shine isn't going to last forever.
And what is it called on the label? Just called high gloss?
Well, you can either use high gloss paint or you can use epoxy paint, which is a two-part epoxy, and that's a lot more durable. Another thing I like to do is, the chalkboard paint that we use all the time that we love. That's a really interesting look if you paint furniture with it, and then over the chalkboard finish, you're going to use a brie wax or an antique wax.
Ooh.
So it gives you that sort of milk paint flat look, but then it's got a slight glaze to it from the wax itself.
That's interesting.
That's a really nice idea. Think about doing that. Chalkboard paint works great for that. Also, that milk paint that I talked about works well. And then in terms of kids' rooms, like whimsical striping or anything that you want to do, again, that's utilizing, the multitudes of colors that are available and whatever your mood that you want to evoke is in color. And then I like just doing a simple lower third of the wall, like 42 inches up would be one color. And then you can put a nice piece of molding, chair rail molding, along that line to delineate the two different colors, and then a secondary color on top. So it's a 2-theme room color with a piece of molding to delineate that line, the two different colors. That's really, really a nice look and simple to do.
What about the fifth wall, and that's the ceiling? I've seen a lot of folks painting a ceiling with metallic paint.
Yeah, and you know what that does? The reflective nature of the metallic gives you more of an elevated feel to the room, and you can, the colors are like silver, brass, bronze,
very chic.
gold.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty.
Like for a dining room, maybe.
Exactly. You will see the imperfections whenever you use higher gloss paint in the paint job itself when it's a glossier surface. So if you've got a really dinged up ceiling that you don't want to kind of focus on all the little cracks in it, gloss is not the answer. You want to use a flat paint, but if you have that ability to if you have a nice clean ceiling and it doesn't make any difference to you, then the gloss is beautiful.
Or what if, I've seen this done too, where it's two-tone, where it's, let's say, a green, almost like an olive green, but then they've used like kind of a faux finish where they've added some gold on top of the fill in the blank, whatever color you have.
That's great.
And then it adds kind of like this imperfected, almost, again, like a distress, but it has the metallic vibe. It gives it depth.
Yeah,
in
it
my
sure
view.
does.
What do you
And
think?
I love that. And also there are so many of these amazing products out there now, like Italian plaster, which kind of gives you the look of like a waxy, old school plaster wall that looks like it's been there a million years. But it's beautiful and it's got some depth to it, and it's applied with a trowel, believe it or not. And then you let it set up and burnish it by swirling this stainless steel trowel that gives it sort of that almost candle wax finish to the walls. It's called Italian plaster. It's
love
gorgeous. That. Comes in any color you can think of.
Now, if you wanted the distressed look, because I also love the distressed look on furniture, there's some paint products that are kind of like distressed paint,
yeah,
right?
they're pre-mixed crackle glazes.
That does
essentially.
the stuff, right?
Yeah, as it's drying, it separates out and gives you sort of little cracks and little individuation, imperfections naturally.
Neat.
And it's sort of a one-step, technique in doing something that is really, sort of prized as artistry when it comes to finish artists. So it's easy to do and easy to operate. Don't worry about having a complication with it. It's great.
And especially great, like if you got some furniture, if you bought like a dresser or a little table of some kind, maybe it's for your office, and you bought that like at a garage sale, and you put, create this distress look. I think it's going to really give it its cool signature personality.
Yeah, there's no question. I love the look of that stuff too. What else is kind of cute is to have, especially for a kid's room, a dresser where you're sort of using the gradation of paint colors that you would see on a paint chip card.
Oh, cute, like a rainbow, but all in the same family.
So basically, you would buy just little quarts of you'd pick a card at the paint store that you like.
The family of colors.
The family
of
colors,
red.
right? And then you start with the lighter on the bottom, and
for
then you work your way up for each drawer. Isn't that cute?
Very clever.
And that can also be a great theme in a room too, which I've done. Again, it's the same thing where you're just taping off 12-inch, say, different horizontal lines around the room, and then each line is a lighter and lighter and lighter color as you go up. Yeah,
I bet that makes a room
It's almost
feel
like
bigger.
a sunset. It's really pretty if you pick those kind of colors.
And all you do is just follow the paint chips. They've done the thinking for you.
They've done the thinking for you, and you just have to pick the family of colors and go from there.
And the good news is a lot of these different paint brands sell those little mini-me, cans.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get a huge batch of paint. You can just go smaller.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Have you ever worked with some of these different wall stencils or decals, especially like kind of a metallic or pearl stencil that will add a little bit of a sheen, a little bit of a shimmer or bling to a wall?
Yeah, and those are kind of cool if you do sort of panels within the wall itself. So the center panel of it would be that stencil, and then the exterior color would be sort of a reference to maybe one of the colors in the stencil itself. And then also there's really kind of creative roller covers that are out there where you can actually get texture.
Oh, really?
On the roller itself. So it kind of provides you with sort of a stencil that's on the roller, right?
Very, very cool.
And that's actually a really pretty way to do it. So you would use your base color first, and then you do your secondary roll when that coat dries with either a darker or lighter color to give you almost sort of a wallpaper print feel using paint. That's kind of a nice
Very,
idea.
very cool. Well, we'll put all these on the website because the idea is, while you're painting, you can go way more creative.
And you can't really blow it. If you
I know.
mess up with a line, you just paint over and start again.
I'm inspired. I don't know about you, but I want to paint something.
I might even do it again. I've painted so much, I might
I'm
do
gonna
it again
right
in my
now.
house now. I'm going right now to do it. Here
Not yet. We have more to talk about,
Oh.
but then we're going to paint.
Yeah.
Eric Stover, Cindy Dole, and by the way, check us out on our website at yourhomewizards.com where all this is posted for you to listen to and see again, right? Eric Stover, Cindy Dole, we love to improve your home and improve your life.
I'm just too far from where you are.